nations do not build themselves, nor they built by a few. It takes the help of everyone. So how about some help from you? Great nations do not build themselves, nor they built by a few. It takes the help of everyone. So how about some help from you? Regression, conflict and fighting. It's time my people that we start uniting. Take a minute and look all around you. Wonder what the world is coming to. Talk of independence, they talk about succession. Everyone seems to have their own solution. But stop and look for a while. Everyone is dissatisfied. Yeah. It's my brother and you too my sister. It's our responsibility. So let's stop blaming one another and reshape our destiny. Great nations do not build themselves, nor they built by a few. It takes the help of everyone. So how about some help from you? Great nations do not build themselves, nor they built by a few. So how about some help from you? If everyone I wonder if I can do this. I wonder if I can do this. Let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can do this. Yeah. Alright, let's take it from the top. Let's take it from the top. Let's take it from the top. Pull it back from the top. Pull it back from the top. Let's see how we can do that. Built by a few. It takes the help of everyone. So how about some help from you? Great nations do not build themselves, nor they built by a few. It takes the help of everyone. So how about some help from you? Regression, conflict and fighting. It's time my people that we start uniting. Take a minute and look all around you. Wonder what the world is coming to. Talk of independence and talk about succession. Everyone seems to have their own solution. But stop and look for a while. Everyone is dissatisfied. And yes, my brother, and you too, my sister. It's our responsibility. So let's stop blaming one another and reshape our destiny. Great nations do not build themselves, nor they built by a few. It takes the help of everyone. So how about some help from you? Great nations do not build themselves, nor they built by a few. It takes the help of everyone. So how about some help from you? If everyone strive to do their bit, then prosperity will avoid it. Let's use our natural resources to help feed the hungry masses. Look here, brother, get on the move. And you too, sister, we got a work to do. Let's start building, cause it must be done. It's called building a nation. how about some help from you?
Let's start building and start fighting. Some other hatred and all of our fighting. We've got our work to do. And all it takes is help from you. Great nations do not build themselves, nor they built by a few. It takes the help of everyone.
So how about some help from you?
Great nations do not build themselves, nor
They built by a few. It takes the help of everyone. So how about some help from you? Look all around you. Now they built by a few. So how about some help from you? Great nations do not build themselves. Now they built by a few. It takes the help of everyone. So how about some help from you? Yeah, how about some help from you? You know what I mean? Great nations do not build themselves. No, well, they built by a few. It takes the help
I'm about to
of...
cash this check for
Hold
$50,000.
on. It takes the help of everyone. How about some help from you? You know what I mean? Yeah, that's the sounds of Ras Ibo Howell, you know? Son of Calvin Cabo Howell and Janet Grell Hull. Two very powerful persons on the island of Nevis. The late Calvin Cabo Howell and the living Janet Grell Hull. That's Ras Ibo Howell with a very powerful track, and the track actually is a poem that was penned by Calvin Cabo Howell. So it's a poem that was written by his father that he actually turned into a song, and you know, the song is such a powerful track. You know, the message, the vibes, the energy, it's just, you know, so fitting, especially for what we are going through in this time. And you know, looking at the video, I opted to share the video because you know, when I looked at the video, how it you know, showcased a lot of what happened on the island. I'm not sure who did the video, but it's a real, you know, great representation of Nevis, you know, and the message in what he is trying to, you know, put out there, what the song actually puts out there, you know. So I give thanks and praises, and I use this song too, also because, you know, this is something that I would have mentioned in recent times, but something I saw yesterday that even strengthened my meditation in terms of what I'm hoping for, and it's something that I was pushing for a couple of, like, years ago, right? And I'm hopeful that, especially with what I saw yesterday, I'm gonna be bringing that to the table in in the not too distant future, because I would really love, I know it's not too late. It's not too late. We are planning now for Culturama, and I'm hopeful that within those who are going to be doing the planning for Culturama, that something like what I am hopeful to delve into would be a part of that plan. Now,
Calvin Cabo Howell, you could say is one of the fathers of Culturama, and his son Ras Ibo Howell, the contributions that Ras Ibo Howell would have made in terms of the music fraternity and his representation for St. Kitts and Nevis did not just necessarily take place on St. Kitts and Nevis. He was more popular and more prominent in Canada, where he resided and was responsible for one of the biggest reggae festivals in Canada, the Calgary Reggae Fest. Ras Ibo Howell, was one of the headliners and organizers, and has a number of albums, right, out there, that he would have been promoting St. Kitts and Nevis for years and years and years. And it led me into thinking that this is something that we don't pay a lot of attention to in terms of our artists who we have. Generally, even those on St. Kitts and Nevis, living at the moment, but those especially who we have in overseas territories, in the diaspora, as they would say, and in terms of giving them an opportunity to showcase that talent. Sometimes when we seek out international acts to bring in, to perform for us, sometimes too we could invest some of that money into ourselves and bring in back some of our artists who are overseas and who are representing. And so one of the ideas I would have had, especially when I was very much involved with the International Night for Culturama, when they began introducing that aspect of the event. One of the things that was looked at was the fact that Culturama is mainly a soca calypso thing, It's usually looked at in that light. However, the reality of the situation is that it is supposed to be a time where you demonstrate and you highlight all of your cultural acts, whether it is soca, calypso, reggae, or whatever. All of the artists should be given an opportunity to showcase their talents and their skills. And so I found that within the realm of things, especially where Culturama is concerned, and it was something for me, especially when I used to work on the radio station, because many may not know, but some years back I used to work at Van Radio, hence DJ Shadan. I don't know if that name rang a bell, but and so I used to be very much involved in playing a lot of the Culturama music when it comes to Culturama time. And what I noted was that there were a lot of artists who were not singing calypso, nor soca, but were making contributions over the years and were singing different kind of music, some reggae, some, hip-hop, some different genres of music. However, there was, and to some extent still, isn't a true opportunity for many of these acts to get a chance to perform and showcase their talent during Culturama as well. And I could recall, I remember a year, Ras Bingi Paris, who teaches the drums in school. Bingi in his studio. Bingi has a studio that he produces artists and music and so on. Bingi produced an album, and I think he did it for a couple of years too, consecutively. He produced an album, and Bingi was more on the reggae vibes, but he created an album exclusively for Culturama. However, the album wasn't pushed as much, and because it was not soca and calypso. And because soca and calypso is what is generally highlighted, a lot of these other artists who sometimes even do produce songs around Culturama time as well, but do not get that opportunity to showcase. So the international night, in my thinking, would have been the perfect night to be able to do that, where you give them that opportunity to showcase, whether it's your upcoming artists in the island, give them a chance to showcase their talents. And that also would have created an opportunity for the aspiring local artists to look forward to something, because here is it that they will be looking forward to be able to be rated enough within their space that when Culturama comes and they have the international night, they will be looking to get a chance to be one of the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 acts, and you would only get there because of whatever ratings, whatever that you would have gone through, whatever your audition or shows and performing, and right, and that would have been the what you should say, the motivation for you to even push yourself more, because you want to be rated and to get the opportunity to perform. I also have the same view where music festival is concerned, and I feel that and this is my personal opinion, that music festival is not okay. Let me not say it that way, because okay, let me say it this way. I think that the festival could be more meaningful to our local acts if given that opportunity. I understand the psyche of the marketing to some extent, because it's a festival during what I consider the off season, that you could still attract foreigners to come into the territory after the average tourist season and so on. All that, yes, I do understand all of that, and you're looking for an international audience, hence the involvement of a lot of top international names and so on. However, a better plan, I think, should be in place for the local acts, so that they also could be looking forward to getting that space, some maybe preliminary events and so on that showcase the local talent, so that they know, okay, 5 local artists will get a chance to perform for music festival. And so we're going to be, as you go through, they're going to be looking at the works that you would have been doing throughout the year, and your performances, and if they need to put on a show or whatever for you, or shows to do the auditions and so on, and then you pick the top 5 or whatever, so that these people are the people who are going to perform. And then when they get on the show, you want to be able now also to have discussions with the international acts that you're bringing in, their managers and or the various promoters and so on, to be taking a look at your artists that will be performing, so that they could be looking at whether giving these upcoming artists an opportunity to open up as an opening act for some of these, or opportunities to give 1 or 2 of our local artists an opportunity to go to their studios, their production studios, to maybe eventually do a proper production video or things like that, or collaborations or things like that. So on the Nevis end, I was thinking that the international night could have been that night, like I said, where your local acts look forward to. So when you do bring an international artist in. It could have been one of your own international, one of your own St. Kitts and Nevis artists. Like we have people like Ras Ibo, as I was talking about. We have people like, you know, I mean, Dawe Congo, not Dawe Congo. Why am I thinking Dawe Congo? Iwango Jafaya. We have people like, you know, my brethren who was just here and St. Kitts. I forget my brethren name by. Anyway, he will come back to me. Michael Soma. Right, Michael Soma. You know, and these are guys, Michael Soma like was one of the first artists out of St. Kitts and Nevis to make it on tempo. I remember back in the days when tempo was that thing, you know, like, and you know, that's actually where I learned about him, you know, because I was like, what? St. Kitts Nevis, I see the St. Kitts Nevis flag and representing St. Kitts and Nevis, and I'm like, you know what I mean, we got big artists like that out here, and you know what I mean. So we need to do a bit more in terms of that. I was also thinking as well, with Byron Messiah, getting that break out there, that, you know, that would have been like a catalyst for a lot more of our upcoming artists to start to push themselves and, you know what I mean, seeking to get that opportunity. Because what sometimes we don't realize, like with Byron Messiah out there, it kind of puts the spotlight on St. Kitts and Nevis, because now, you know, here is it that you have this international artist out there representing St. Kitts. And so I give thanks to see that he has started to create a tour in recent times for him and Dejour. So Dejour, you know, will be touring with with Byron Messiah in the next couple of weeks, months, you know, down the road. And good look, very good look for St. Kitts and Nevis, very good look. I'm hopeful that many more of our local artists may get opportunities to tour with him as well, or maybe do collabs, or you know, something like that. We need to do something to be able to utilize the opportunity that we have right now, because we do have an international artist out there in the space, and so it puts us out there in the spotlight as, you know, artists to look out for. And so I do look forward to that. Now, there is another topic that I'm going to get into, but while I'm on the music thing right now, and you know, I started off with that song from Ras Ibo, Howell, you know, and you know, when we talk about international artists again, I'm going to delve into this song here from another one of our artists, originally from Fountain Village, originally from my village in Nevis, but he's based in St. Thomas, US Virgin Islands. For years, the brethren out there doing things, the brethren just like, you know what I mean, like, but that's what I'm saying. Sometimes we don't look at our own, and we don't give our own the kind of credits that, you know, we should give. So I would love, you know, for this year for Culturama, that the international night, and it could be done a couple of ways, you know, because it could be done without even bringing in an international artist, so to speak, because we have enough homegrown talent to be able to fill the space, and you can fuse it with a thing that I think can come, that really needs to be resuscitated as well too, like the sound clash. Like there's a lot of young DJs coming up in Nevis, you know. It's Culturama as well, and a lot of these DJs are used, for some of the pre-activities and so on for Culturama, but they are part of the culture as well, but they don't get a chance necessarily to showcase their talent. I remember a time they started to introduce the DJ Clash. The DJ Clash or the Sound Clash. And I remember a couple of years of that was sort of introduced. I don't know why it stopped, but things like that, because we sometimes talk about the youths not getting involved into certain things, and so that's why they get into crime and violence and so on. But then when the youths them invest in certain things and then don't get the support, it's still another thing. And so that's what I'm saying. Culture can't just consider to be limited to soca and calypso. We still have to find ways now to embrace these other artists who are not singing calypso and not singing soca. Like I said, Ras Bingi, who made contributions over the years, created albums that came out around Culturama, singing powerful tracks about Nevis and the culture and all these things. But they were not promoted because they were not calypso or soca. Right? So, you know, we really need to look at that. And the sound man them, you know, that opportunity. So the international, like, could be a fusion. And then also too, because many of the young artists as well are not necessarily familiar with playing with bands, then that also could give the sounds also an opportunity who's going to be mixing for them, you know, mixing for them on the tracks. So, you know, so some of them would already be there. So it would be easy to do a little sound off, use your two or three, four top sounds and, you know, see who become the top sound for the year. And then that's something for them to look forward to for the next year. You know what I mean? The same thing with the artists. You know, at the end of the show, maybe, you know, the artists who get the most props are, you know, who, like, when they have those shows in Jamaica, and so whether it's Sting or Reggae, Sumfest or whatever it is, they would have artists. It's not so much a competition, but at the end of the night, people would be able to say, this artist took away the show, you know, they were the most, you know what I mean, they were the best performer or whatever the case may be. And so the artists now get a chance to look forward to come back next year and things like that. So we really need to, you know, look out for our artists. It's time for us to take that opportunity. And I'm saying this too because I was looking at an interview with Vybz Kartel and the president of Guyana, because Vybz Kartel is in Guyana, and the prime minister created an interview space for the artists in Guyana to link up and have a conversation with Vybz Kartel. I mean, very, very, very powerful interview, very, very powerful session. I think I would probably create a live where I could share that with you as well. If I do that on this one, I think it probably might be too long. And we're living in a world now where everybody gets accustomed to shorts and reels and these things. The attention span of many is very limited. People don't want to listen to or watch anything for an hour and 2 hours and so on. So right now it seems as if you really want to hide information from the masses, just create a long video and know that people are not going to listen and pay attention to it. And so it could have been an opportunity for you to gain millions or billions of dollars, but you will not get those billions of dollars just because you're not going to listen to the video because you think it's too long. So yeah, sorry about that. But so in the interview though, one of the things spoken about was afforded was for some of the artists who were at the interview were able to ask Vybz Kartel some questions, and Vybz Kartel gave them the opportunity also to perform a little bit of some of their tracks and so on, and some of them were given opportunities now to do collaborations with Vybz Kartel. Now, for the show that they're going to create, the Prime Minister has also said that he's going to put on a couple of shows with these artists to get some of the top artists now to give them a chance to perform on the show with Kartel. So, you see what I'm talking about? But no, I know people may have their mixed views and opinions where Vybz Kartel is concerned, but I'm the kind of person that, and this is why for me, in a lot of cases, when I follow up the music industry, I don't just love to listen to the artists when they sing and they perform. I love to take the time out to listen to them when they do have interviews and those things, because that's when you get to hear from them and get to hear more of their thoughts and opinions and where they are coming from. And so before people get judgmental, I think one should listen to that interview with Vybz Kartel and the president of Guyana, and you know, then we could engage in a different discussion. Now, sorry, I'm going to get into this track, because as I'm going to get into this track, and then I'm going to get into the topic that I am really going to get into later on here, because you know, sometimes we in our spaces sometimes just limit ourselves to our local politics and local issues, and sometimes certain things that's going on around us we don't pay much of attention to. So I'm going to delve into a couple of things. Let's start this one here. Let's see what happens. I don't have what you call it, I don't have YouTube premium, so maybe when this thing starts, you know what, let me pause it, because if an ad comes in, then at least yeah, I could deal with that. So let me do this then. Alright, it didn't start with the ad. Alright, so let's do this. Let's turn it around and let's pull it up from the top. Okay, let's pull it up from the top. And this is Fella Million.
God, Dios, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Concédeme la serenidad para aceptar las cosas que no puedo cambiar. Courage to change the things I can. Coraje para cambiar las cosas que puedo. And the wisdom to know the difference. Y la sabiduría para reconocer la diferencia.
We are artists of a responsibility to set and people mind them free. So negativities and
Father gave this gift to me, so let music heal the world. We need to let our music heal the world.
Such a shame to see the things that we accept to be the norm. How did we fall so far?
How did we get so blinded?
And some things we think is right. Open your eyes, cause we have been so wrong. Everywhere is war. It's too much senseless violence.
I know
We can
together.
one small step at a time. Let's make a change.
I know if we fight this fight together,
Then we can overcome.
yes we can over.
911, can you hear me? Well, it's a state of emergency.
We as artists have a responsibility to set the people mind them free.
So negativities and see, Father gave this gift to me.
So let music heal the world. We need to let our music heal the world.
Let our music listen. All equally created. It's all not that complicated. Can't you see that we are underneath the Father's Son? So we don't look the same and we don't speak the same, but we eat and breathe and bleed the same.
Say no more, say no more.
We can together.
together, one small step at a time. Let's make a change. I know if we fight this fight together, then we can overcome. Yes, we can overcome. We as artists have a responsibility to set the people mind them free. Father gave this gift to me, so let music heal the world. We need to let our music heal the world. We as artists have a responsibility to set the people mind them free. Father gave this gift to me, so let music heal the world. We as artists have a responsibility to set the people mind them free. Father gave this gift to me, so let music heal the world. We need to let our music heal the world. Yes, I am. And that's the sounds of the man called Fella Million. You know what I mean? Fella Million. Originally out of Queen City, Nevis, Ghana Road, Fountain Village to be exact. Right? And that's one of our very own. And that's what I'm saying. We've got artists out there doing things, but we are not even seeking to promote our own as much as we should. And this is what I'm saying. We need to be able to create these shows, and these things are what we're going to have to use to be able to create opportunities for our youngsters. You know, sometimes we talk about, you know, they're getting into this and they're getting into that. But, sorry, what are we doing to help to create another path, or to, you know, help them along the path that they may see? Because it's not all of us who's going to want to be in jacket and tie and, you know, be teacher, lawyer, doctor. You know what I mean? Some of us may just be skilled at making craft. Some may be an artist. Some may be an artiste. Whether it's a singer or a player of instrument, you know, all of these are talents and skills and things that, you know, should be given just as much credence as the individuals who may have been much more successful with their academics, you know. You know, and these are things that we really need to pay attention to. So that's, you know, it in terms of the music thing. And I'm hoping that, like I said, for, you know, Culturama this year, that's one of the things that I am hopeful that, you know, they can really delve into and get back into it in a way that it is more beneficial to the artists and the island. So you can create the international night, because I remember when I used to be involved with that, because I would have been the host for a number of the international artists nights. I remember being the host for Buju Banton. I remember being the host for Freddie McGregor, for also for Everton Blender, and a number of, you know, artists that would have been the host in terms of, you know, being intimately involved with what's happening for that night. But I kept saying, right, for me, that night, you know, yes, I saw the need to start out maybe with bringing in an international artist to hype it up. But the whole idea would have been to have the international artists, but then the show now would have been to really showcase, you know, our top 5, 6, 7, you know, upcoming artists, and then give them that opportunity now to build that kind of rapport with the people, so that the people look forward and would want them back, so the people would pay to come to see them next time, because they were so good and they performed so good, you know. And then they continue the thing throughout the year and so on, and build up, like how, for example, on Synkits, you have, you know, people like Byron Messiah, you had, you know, like Highlight, you had people, rest in peace, iMark. You know, you got people like Simone, Colin Wyatt now, artists like these who over time, de jour, who over time have built a name and have reached to that level where, yeah, people would pay to go to these artists. And as a matter of fact, you found that what was happening, and I think it was Masood Siddiqui who kind of broke that ice. We would have had people like Kushal Banki, who would have been there long before, and Kushal Banki himself too would have kind of broken down that ice. But I think part of what was the struggle, and is the struggle still, is Rastafari. Though Masood Siddiqui was Rastafari, he eventually grew into it and could have been more appreciated by the younger people. But then you had, people like Kushal Banki, though popular, though out there doing so much and still doing so much for us in terms of the music, and represented in that realm as a authentic roots reggae artist, recognized globally around, not just in Jamaica, but I say globally around the world. But on St. Kitts, I guess because we still had that negative energy towards Rastafari and cannabis and so on, and these are things that he stood for, he still got a lot of that fight. And even today, we see a lot of these big shows. Kushal Banki is still around. Why is Kushal Banki not utilized and put on a music fest? Why not? Anyway, but that's what I'm saying, right? So we would have had artists like these out there, doing their thing. And so I'm hopeful that, something like this could be probably organized for, this year for Culturama, to create a kind of international night energy that showcases a lot of our local artists and sound system. You could do a fusion of some shows and a song clash. The top 4 sounds meet up, and then you have a 6 sounds. It could be, depending on how much sounds would participate. And then you have kind of like eliminations, and then you go down to the two sound off, the two who make it to the last round, then they sound off, and then we get the top sound, waiting. So then next year, whoever now would covet that now. Somebody will be looking forward to be the top sound in Nevis. These are things activities that can be created and generated to also stimulate funds and also to cater for that other sector of the population that might not necessarily be into calypso and soca. Because for me, I used to look forward to the international night for Culturama. I looked forward to that night because that was the night where, to me, it was kind of set up so that Rastaman could get the vibes too. Because a lot of the time they used to be bringing in a reggae artist because, at least, the Rastaman get a chance to come out and associate, and, cannabis wasn't free like that back then, but a man can still take a chance and come out and burn a joint and feel nice and go back home and so. So, that energy. Now, bless up everybody who passing through and holding their meds with us as we hold our meds. One of the things I wanted to get into this afternoon, apart from the music vibes, sorry, so many things happened in the past couple of months. I don't know how many of you are aware of the fact that oil was discovered in Grenada. So, I think it was probably maybe 4 or 5 months ago. Let me not put it that way. A couple of years back, it would have been rumored and there was talk about it in Grenada that, oil was discovered somewhere in the waters, in Grenada waters. In more recent time, however, there has been confirmation of such. And as a result, the present Prime Minister of Grenada, who at that time when this occurred, he was the head of CARICOM. He was the chairman of CARICOM at that time. He, however, has opted to do what many of the other territories within the region have not done. So in many of the other territories in the Caribbean who discovered oil within their parts, they would have turned to many of the other European or American oil-based companies to assist them in extracting and refining the oil and so on. The Prime Minister of Grenada has opted to choose Dagonte out of Nigeria to assist in terms of helping them to extract, refine, and transport. I think they would have also developed some relations with Russia to assist them. Now, there's an article that I found which spoke to this issue. I'm gonna seek to get that article, and we would take a listen, and then we could delve into some discussions in regards to that. There's another thing I would like to highlight in terms of Grenada, but I would deal with this one first. So let's look for this article here, and then let's see, not that one, I think it's this one. So let's click on this one, and 4 months ago. Okay, let me see. I think let me try this one. Okay, yeah, let me try this one.
DialPad AI works for you and your customers. It won't fall in love with them, but it will help you create.
Let's see.
So the government here, the authorities here are very cautious in what they are saying. They are very careful not.
Hold on. Let's go.
Drinking cinnamon before pooping. Does it actually matter? Well, in fact, it does. Drinking cinnamon before pooping can help eliminate.
Hold on.
What's up, my beautiful people? This is your boy Stefan, your Afro-Grenadian ambassador. I welcome you all back to my channel. To all my new subscribers, thank you very much for subscribing. And my returning subscribers, thank you all. My viewers, channel members, I appreciate you all. Don't forget to watch all the ads that are placed on my videos. Well, in today's video, my friends, we have Nigeria and Grenada signing the oil and gas agreement to start partnership in business with each other. And so we are going to take a look at the report, and then we will come back and talk all about it.
Over the weekend, international Nigerian news outlet Punch announced that Grenada struck a multi-million-dollar deal with Nigerian oil and gas company Ocean Gate Oil and Gas Engineering and the Russian company Global Petroleum Group to launch one of the Caribbean's largest oil and gas ventures. Ocean Gate Oil and Gas Engineering CEO Dr. Aisha Achimagu, in a statement on Saturday, explained that the partnership seeks to develop Grenada's hydrocarbon reserves, paving the way for the island to emerge as a major energy hub in the Caribbean. Another article released on the Nigerian website Billionaire African indicates that the project is valued at approximately $1.8 billion, with the potential to reach $8 billion. The 38-year production sharing agreement with Grenada's government covers over 7,500 square kilometers of offshore blocks. Achimolo's connection to Grenada runs deeper than business, as she also chose Grenada as the location for her luxurious 50th birthday party on Calavili Island and Silver Sands Resort in January. The NDC administration seems to be tight-lipped about the new revelation. The GBN News team made several attempts to confirm the announcement by the Nigerian news outlets, but these proved futile. At his last press briefing on October 16th, Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell was questioned by the media on the oil and gas situation in Grenada's waters.
So the oil and gas technical working group that has been appointed has been feverishly at work. As you'd appreciate, one of the challenges we faced was ensuring that we were satisfied that we had all of the documentation pertaining to this issue. And their work therefore has been ongoing. They have retained a legal consultant. They've required some, they've also retained some technical consultants, and we have sought in recent times to engage with GPG. So there's been some exchanges of correspondence with them. We expect that in the coming months we will look to sit with them and get a clear understanding of their understanding of the current contractual obligations that they have to us and all contractual obligations that we have to them. I want to point to you that GPG would have been awarded certain blocks, but there are other blocks within our territorial space that we need to also look at. But in order to do so, we need to make sure that we put the right legislative policy and financial regulations in place so that Grenadians can benefit. So it's a lot of rigorous, highly technical work, hence the reason for a technical working group. To be able to get us to the point where we can come back to the public to say this is what we found, this is what we understand the government's contractual obligations are, this is what we understand GPG's contractual obligations are, this is how we will expect to move forward. Or alternatively, if we can't move forward, then to be able to advise us that we can't move forward, and as a result those are the steps we need to be able to take to address. So the work is ongoing. I would expect that we would probably have members of the technical working group come back to the media with a full briefing before the end of the year on the work it has done and the next steps in this process.
So this is a critical time in Grenada's history. There's a lot to break down here. The announcement came back in 2008, where some scientists came and it was said that there are potential oil reserves in our waters. And in 2018, it was announced by the then political party or prime minister that we have found oil. Now, with this present government, we have taken the step further, or this present government have taken the step further in starting the procedure in exploring that the oil is there so that we can extract it. And we see that Nigeria, the two partners that are there that is assisting Grenada in this initiative is Nigeria and Russia. That is one of the reasons why our Prime Minister went to Nigeria and visited the Dagonte oil refinery. You know, it was getting Nigeria on board in helping us in this initiative. And then we have Russia. Russia will be guiding us whether or not it is safe to go ahead doing extracting the oil once found or once it's there, because the location, there's a lot of potential blocks and location in our waters where there is potential oil. So once the oil is there, Russia will give the go ahead, or they will give us the advice whether to extract it or not, as we have heard the Prime Minister said. So the government here, the authorities here are very cautious in what they are saying. They are very careful in not announcing certain things before it's time, not getting too excited about anything, because this is serious business. You know, this is a critical moment right now. And personally, I really wish, you know, I really hope, I pray, not wish, but I hope and pray that the oil is eventually there and we will be able to go ahead and extract the oil, and it will do well for the Grenadian people. Some people says that it will not. You know, it's a mixture of feeling that oil is a blessing and a curse, but you know, I don't want to be negative about anything. I am optimistic this oil will be, once it's found, by God's grace and mercy, you know, hoping, and I have faith, once it's found, that it will, the Grenadian people will benefit. And the Prime Minister have gotten Nigeria involved and Russia involved, because especially Nigeria, we are collaborating with our brothers and sisters.
Okay, so people, as we listen to this, right, I'm just interjecting here a little bit because I want you to note that as I said, as I began to mention before I even got into this interview, that Grenada has done what many other Caribbean islands have not done, in the sense that Grenada, instead of reaching out to whether it's a European territory or America, oil companies and so on, they would have opted to turn to Africa. And also, now we are also learning of the involvement of Russia in this scheme of things, and for me, that part is important, and I'm gonna say why I think this is important. Now we're coming off of the heels of CARICOM, right? CARICOM heads of government meeting. Now, in a lot of cases, one of the things that's happening, and similarly in Africa as well, Africa is in a situation right now where you have, like the Caribbean, individual states with sovereign leaders. And so you have the African Alkebulan continent that is broken down into states. However, unlike the United States of America, there's not a United States of Africa. So you find that within each territory, there's still that infighting and that need and that power trip and that ego trip where, you know, people are more concerned to some extent with being the sovereign leader, and having that level of power, and sometimes overlooking the need to be able to move as a unit. So similarly in the Caribbean, you have the islands in the Caribbean, and each island have their own set of leaders. And so though we have a CARICOM, the actions taken by CARICOM is not necessarily binding. And because you have sovereign leaders are able to make decisions that they think is beneficial to their country, and so they may align with or develop economic relations with whoever territory they may choose to. What we are faced with in today's time is a scenario where some of these choices or decisions may have serious implications if you also have, in these times, American relations, and or you depend heavily on the US, and still find yourself seeking to develop and strengthen relations with some of these other territories. And so when you have that, and you have an issue, and then CARICOM would have to make a decision, that would and could be a bit of a challenge when you have, maybe, let's say, for example, this country aligned with Russia. You may have, like in the case of Jamaica, seemingly developing some strong relations with China. And then you have other Caribbean territories who might not necessarily be in relations with China, but may be in relations with Taiwan, who seemingly a threat from China at this point, in a similar situation where Russia and Ukraine is in. There is that threat with Taiwan and China. And so when it comes to coming together to form an opinion and so on in terms of CARICOM. How are these things going to pan out? And where will our alliance be if and when issues like these? So it's issues like these that I think we should really seriously pay attention to. That's why I stopped to highlight that point. But we'll get back to the brethren here who's talking about oil found in Grenada and the Prime Minister of Grenada seeking to use Nigeria and Russia to help them to extract and process the oil.
On the motherland, because we want to foster, it is all part of Pan-Africanism, fostering closer relationship, connecting the gap, bridging the gap with the motherland. And for, those of us who are negative about the situation, I advise us, let us be optimistic, let us stay positive on some things. Yes, we live in the world is already negative. Let us be positive about certain things, some of us say, oh, Nigeria, will not be able to help us, and I beg to differ. I believe, as we are seeing that Grenada have shifted, is shifting slowly, is gradually shifting away from the West, and we are collaborating with our brothers and sisters on the motherland. So the whole thing about it is that we have to hope for is that when certain things like this is being done, my prayer is and my hope is that our authorities will be very careful in who they select as the partners, and we are seeing that the Prime Minister and his government here in Grenada is being very careful. It's being very careful of selecting who we want. Involved in the affairs when it comes to an important initiative like this. So we have handpicked Nigeria because our Grenada Prime Minister believes that we can prosper with the motherland. The motherland can help us to prosper. The wealth, because when we as a Caribbean are doing well and we are walking along with the motherland, with our people on the motherland, it will benefit all of us, so that is what it is about, fostering relationship with all the ads that are placed.
Oh man, I did that.
I advise us, let us be optimistic. Let us stay positive on some things. Yes, we live in the world is already negative. Let us be positive about certain things. Some of us say, oh, Nigeria, will not be.
Okay, my bad. I did something here, so probably I need to take it a little bit further. But as he said something there, right? It prompted me to interject this. As he spoke about we need to be more positive and realize that the Prime Minister of Grenada is seeking to foster relations with the motherland. One of the things that jump out at me is St. Kitts and Nevis is also about to move into geothermal. Globally, Kenya, I think, is known to be very much involved in geothermal power. How about also we seek to, instead of having to go to European companies to develop our geothermal, we seek to find out more of what's happening in Kenya and see if we could develop relations with Kenya to develop our geothermal and St. Kitts and Nevis. I'm just throwing that out there in the same breath and the same line of thinking that the brethren here is on.
It is that we have to hope for is that when certain things like this is being done, my prayer is and my hope is that our authorities will be very careful in who they select as the partners, and we are seeing that the Prime Minister and his government here in Grenada is being very careful. You know, it's being very careful of selecting who we want to involve in the affairs when it comes to an important initiative like this. So we have handpicked Nigeria because our Grenada Prime Minister believes that we can prosper with the motherland. The motherland can help us to prosper. We, you know, the wealth, because when we as a Caribbean are doing well and we are walking along with the motherland, with our people on the motherland, it will benefit all of us. You know, so that is what it is about: fostering relationship with Africa and the Caribbean. That is what it's all about. And we have Russia, who is also, you know, an ally of Grenada, for sure, because Russia has been, you know, playing a role here in Grenada as well. Some people have mixed feelings about that, but again, you know, I think we should stay optimistic. I'm optimistic and positive about things. You know, my prayer is that I pray that the government of Grenada will.
So, what are your thoughts on that? And that's what I'm saying. You know, these are some of the things that we have to look at in terms of, you know, our international relations and how we see ourselves within the region, within the bigger scope of things, or are we just, you know, generally limiting ourselves to our specific, you know, territory? Do we look at ourselves holistically as a group of countries, or it is even more challenging for us in the Caribbean because we are separated by water? In Africa, we do have that challenge, even though it's one land mass, and they have these imaginary lines that they use to divide and rule and conquer the people. And as we go back to the Berlin Conference, when they created that name Africa, you know, they shared up Africa, and so we have that issue similarly that we experience in the Caribbean. In Africa, you have the lands were colonized by many different European territories. So within Africa, you have different territories that speak different languages, because most of these European influencers and colonizers, one of the things that they did when they entered most of these territories to ensure that their impact lasts for a lifetime, they would have forced their cultures, language, religion, and traditions amongst the various groups. And so you have, you know, those who were colonized by the British would speak English, and they would have their English customs and practices which have been inculcated in them. Those who were colonized by the French and the Spanish and the Dutch and likewise. And we have the same story in the Caribbean. However, in Africa, you know, they are on the same landmass. In the Caribbean, we are divided by waters, and so in order to even seek to address some of these issues, it's not just about taking a trip, you know, taking a drive across. It's sometimes either a very expensive flight or a very expensive boat ride, you know, to the destination. And so you still have some of those challenges, and then within those, you know, things that were inculcated, there is the you know, practices of teaching of the differences and making you feel like, oh, because, you know, I speak French, or I am French, or, you know, I am somewhat feeling better than the person who speaks the colloquial language or the standard language of the territory, and, you know, all of these little things that we have holding up against us. But where do we stand with this, with, you know, Russia being in the Caribbean and having diplomatic relations, so to speak, or that kind of connections with Caribbean territory? We have China in some cases, and how do we do? I mean, when they meet annually, when they have these CARICOM meetings and so on, do they have these kinds of discussions? And what are the thought processes that, it's just like, hey, I control my territory. Whoever I choose to do whatever with, I'm free to do that. You do what you need to do to deal with your thing, and or we're going to look at the bigger picture and realize that in some cases we do need to work as a team, as a unit, and that's why even in Africa, the AU, or they're looking at that body that is supposed to be able to represent the entire, territory. All of that still ain't fixed yet. So we got a lot of work to do, we got a lot of work to do, and we got these issues to discuss. So we got to bring these things to the table, and that is why I'm seeking to look at these issues from these kind of critical standpoint and engage these discussions, because sometimes, especially in our circles, St. Kitts and Nevis, we sometimes just limit the discussions to our local politics and get into the little, divisions and personalities and partisan politics, and and get caught up with the distractions and all the gossips and distractions really, because a lot of the time these distractions from having to deal with some of these issues that would help to enlighten you and so on. So let me continue with this and then get into the next article, which is another article in relation to Grenada, but it's slightly on a different tip, and we will check into that.
Will, the Almighty God will give them the wisdom, the understanding to make the right decisions, bring on board the right people, and yes, and that's it. And I want to compliment the Prime Minister. America is nowhere there. America is not involved in any. The Western powers is not involved in any of these things. And I want to compliment, because I think, and that is what the Prime Minister have been saying, it's time that we reorder the traditional way of doing business. And we are seeing that our Prime Minister is changing the usual way of doing business with the imperial powers. We are moving away. Grenada is moving away from that, and we are coming and doing business with the motherland. We are prospering. Nigeria is on board with us on this project. They are helping us in this initiative. As you have heard, Grenada and Nigeria have struck a multi-billion-dollar deal. Yes, so guys, so let's keep our hopes, let's keep the faith that the next announcement that the Prime Minister will be coming and make is that good news, oil is found and Grenada is ready to extract it, Praying and hoping. So those of us who are optimistic, my encouragement to you, don't listen to negativity. All right, don't listen. Block out the noise. Block out the noise. You will hear a lot of negative people commit negative things. Block out the noise. Because whenever one thing I cannot understand is when developing countries are on the brink of becoming a developed nation. When you have developing countries that are growing fast and a significant change in its economy is about to happen, you always have negative things coming. But when you have developed countries, they're doing things, you never hear the negative things about them. But whenever it comes to a third world country, developing country, when we are trying to, our economy is about to take off, you always get this backlash, and that's something I cannot understand. But when it comes to other places, you don't hear anything, and these are the same people. These are the same people, and it's sometimes our own people that does these things, very negative about their country, and then when it comes to other people's country, they have nothing to say, So don't give any negative, don't listen to the negative things. Let's keep focused, guys, and let us pray and hope that positive things will come out of it. All right. So God bless you. Take care. Until next time.
Blessed with the strength to carry on. We're more than just an island in the sun. Tell the world we are Grenada.
Yeah, Grenada, you know. Spice Island. Yeah, one of the very much not spoken about territories in the region, but a country that is rich with history and has a very powerful legacy. Country I love a lot. I've spent a lot of time in Grenada, and I'm really looking forward to going back to Grenada myself. You know, I'm loving what I'm seeing happening there, and I'm loving, you know, what's going on, and in listening to a lot of, you know, what this new prime minister is doing as well. He's young, was and is. I'm not sure if he's still practicing law, but a young lawyer, and so far, you know, I've been hearing a lot of, you know, positivity in terms of, you know, the works that he has been doing so far. And so, you know, I give a lot of respect, you know, so far to him and to the Grenada people. As I speak to that, okay, I'm looking for this this other article. Yeah, so as I look for this this article I bumped into yesterday. Let me see. That's a long. Okay, so yeah, the short version. Let me use the short version. Yeah, so I was scrolling through YouTube yesterday, and I bumped into this article that I found quite interesting. Interesting for a number of reasons, and one of the things for me, like I said, right, I do not like to limit myself to just the local politics. You know, we in the Caribbean, especially the British-speaking Caribbean territories, many of the British-speaking Caribbean territories, and you see, as we speak about, I just point out the fact that we have those divisions, because then within Caribbean, you have the French-speaking territories, and you have the Spanish-speaking territories, and then those are some of the hindrances that we have, because those territories, they speak a different language, so then there's a language barrier even in terms of us seeking to unite and come together and so on. However, those are things that we can overcome with modern technology and so on. That's not such of a big issue, so to speak. Some of the cultures and traditions, and so it's all about just being open-minded to learn and you know, find ways of making these things work. But I'm just pointing out that, you know, that's the scenario. However, within our British-speaking Caribbean territories, I find that because of the fact that most of the territories were colonized by Britain, and most of them still continue to maintain that Westminster style of governance, that a lot of the issues that we find throughout the region in those various territories, a lot of the times are very similar to the situations that we face on St. Kitts and Nevis. And so sometimes it is just quite interesting to see how different people from different territories address some of the same issues, and also how some of the leaders from those territories as well respond to the cries of the people and or the actions or reactions of the people when they're faced with certain situations. And so it's always very good for me to just look and see and hear for myself versus hearing other people's opinions. And so I sometimes listen to things that's happening in, whether it's St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenada, Dominica, Trinidad, a lot of different Caribbean territories, So yes, I think it was yesterday, because I think, this is saying 1 day ago, I bumped into this article from Wodemaya. Now, Wodemaya, enough respect to this brethren from Africa who, over the years, have been a travel vlogger, and would have, been seeking to bridge the gap between Africa and the Caribbean, Africa and China, Africa and various territories, highlighting the evidence of African cultures and practices in different territories. In recent times, he has been doing a lot of work with the Caribbean. He would have visited many different Caribbean territories. But he is, I think, presently in Grenada, and he went specifically to meet the African oil producer that was mentioned in the article that we highlighted earlier. So the article that we highlighted earlier would have been an article that was done 4 months ago. That was probably back in October or November last year, when it was fresh on the table that Grenada would have began making moves to set up to extract and refine the oil that is found in their waters. Sorry. So now we're in February, and that brethren, Dagonte, I think his name is, one of the quote-unquote richest Alkebulan brothers at this point, is in Grenada and would have donated some things to schools over there, and I guess they're working out the final things. I'm really loving that idea. I'm hoping that a lot more of our leaders in the Caribbean could seek to start to make these kinds of connections, not just go out and sign up visa free to strengthen your passports, to say that you have X amount of all of these different countries visa free, but to actually develop these relationships that we could benefit from each other. So you can have exchanges of technology, exchanges of tourism, tourists, education, skills, technology, science, because there are a lot of different areas that we can tap into, but we sometimes are still just looking to the West and to Europe, and we have these markets. Sometimes maybe also because of the brainwashing that we would have been given. A lot of us, when we think of Africa, we think of poor and starving and so on, and so we don't realize that in those territories you also have a lot of very wealthy people and wealthy communities too, and these people too want to go on vacation as well, and they need to visit and see other places as well, and they would be open to investing in other territories as well if they were given the opportunity. Sometimes they don't even know about us. So just like how we would have trade shows and tourism shows and so on in some of these other territories in Europe and so on, why are we not going into some of these African countries as well and doing some of these things? Why are we not developing relations with some of these countries who are making cars and so on, so some of our vehicles can be coming out of Africa, instead of having to deal with these other territories? Why are we not, like I said earlier, in terms of geothermal, why not look at Kenya? Kenya is one of the biggest geothermal territories in the world. We're not just talking in Africa, we're talking in the world. So why, when we're looking at exploring these things, why don't we seek to connect with our own people, So these are some of the things. you know, that we really need to look at. So let's get into this article here with Wodemaya. And as we get into the article, I would stop and point out some of the things that that touched me, and that I think we should pay a little bit more attention to, even on St. Kitts and Nevis. And then I think after this we probably will wrap up this edition, and then sometime later again, I don't know, depending on the vibes and the weather and all that, I probably might be back and get into another edition, because I don't want to make this too long either, because you know, we know how our people stay, right? So let's do this one here.
So if you've purchased a faulty car in California and want a huge check like I've got here, here's what you do. Use this.
Okay.
You're entitled not to work for me? Because then it's a gift, you know.
Okay.
Hey, did you know you might get a big cash payout if you were in a car accident last year? Yeah, even if you weren't.
Here we are. Walking with the Prime Minister says he's my friend, man. You don't have an army in this country.
That's correct.
And you're walking just like that?
Just like that, no army.
Your people love you.
Well, you gotta serve the people. Hopefully, if you do that, then they love you.
This is absolutely crazy and unbelievable, man. I mean, as a content creator from the continent of Africa, I've never seen our leaders being free like this. I mean, this is not campaign season where, I mean, our leaders go from door to door just to say hello to their people. No, this is not campaign season. He's literally in power, and he's just moving around saying hello to his people, making sure he knocks door to door. Can you believe it? Like, I have never seen anything like this before. I am super shocked, and that is why I'm here to share this moment with you all. And I want you all to do me a favor. Like this video. I mean, I just want to put...
So, you know, that's one of the things that jumped out at me, as he said. It's not campaigning time. You know what I mean? It's not election time. And you know, like in our parts, St. Kitts and Nevis, you know, you only seeing these men and so coming around when it's election time. Now, there was something that was said in relation to this comment by the Prime Minister himself. And I think this is only the intro. So you would later on hear this again in the interview as the session continues. But this interview, I think, is quite instructive, and so I will let you hear you know, what's going on. And that's why I say I love to listen to, you know, what's going on in the various territories, because it is very instructive. It is very instructive when you listen to some of these things that's happening in these different Caribbean islands. And so, yeah, quite instructive. As he said, it's not elections. It's not election time. It's not even close to election. But he's just going around door to door. No security. No. You know what I mean? Well, he might have. I don't know if he has one or two undercover officers or whatever. But nobody there. You know, like, let's continue.
Put Grenada on the map just because of this.
Hello. I'm very good. How are you?
Very well.
Good to see you. I'm not sure if you remember me. I came here once with Hyacinth. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was a Saturday morning. You guys were up. Yeah, good to see you guys. How are you doing?
I wish leaders on the continent can be this open-minded to embrace their people, because they are there to serve the people. Literally, that's what he's doing. This is amazing, bro. I think that the Caribbean feels so different for me. Anytime I come in here, I'm like, I don't want to go back. It's so peaceful out here.
No, that's what we want. The zone of peace. That's what we want to call it. We maintain here the zone of peace. No, right there. Good to see you.
Happy to see you in our lovely, peaceful community here. Western Hall Point.
It's a pleasure to be here. You know, you're not leaving any village behind you.
Your people love you.
Well, you gotta serve the people. Hopefully, if you do that, then they love you.
But I just wanna know, how does that make you feel, knowing that your people really appreciate you?
No, I mean, it's humbling, because, you know, politics is a difficult job, and I think for a long time, you know, it's difficult to find young people like me to being coaxed or pushed to get involved in politics, as opposed to someone who decided wanted to just get up and get involved. So, in a sense, when I didn't expect that it was going to be an overwhelmingly positive response. So that has been humbling and inspiring. So at least we know the majority of people want people to serve and to be humble when serving. So far, so good.
Were you a politician before?
No political experience whatsoever.
What were you before then?
Lawyer.
Oh wow.
Prior to that, teacher. Prior to that, student. Yeah, just a regular community person. Grew up in a village. If I look up in the mountains and I see the church steeple, I'll point it to you. Just got involved in 2021. Joined the party in the summer, became political leader.
So you can call me Susu. I will accept the Susu because I am going to help the people of Grenada to put the little one money together and ensure that we can give it to the next person and improve their lives.
End of October, had an election in June the following year.
What is the name of your political party?
National Democratic Congress.
No way! No way!
It sounds familiar, right?
No. How?
No, it is the National Democratic Congress.
What year was it formed? No, I just want to know the year it was formed, the political party.
So the National Democratic Congress is 37 years old. So it was formed not so long.
Should I say that it was inspired by National Democratic Congress from Ghana?
You can say that.
Hey, did you know that SMUD is now paying Sacramento homeowners thousands of dollars upfront to put a backup?
The current president of Ghana is from National Democratic Congress.
That's right.
Have you met him yet?
I've not met him yet. I'm hoping that I can get the opportunity to express congratulations to him on becoming president. And I want to actually congratulate the people and government of Ghana on having peaceful elections and smooth transition. Sometimes developing countries in the Caribbean, in Africa, and the South, other people say all kinds of things about us when it comes to democracy and human rights, and I think we're proving every day that we know what we're about. That we can have elections that are free, fair, leads to a smooth transition of government. So I want to congratulate the president and his team and wish him and the people of Ghana all the best.
From my research, you don't have an army in this country.
That's correct.
And you're walking just like that?
Just like that, no army. We're not here to fight war, we're here to have peace, to make love, to be loved, to spread the love. So all the people who are fighting, who's spending all of the earth's resources on war, armaments, we invite you to come to Grenada. We can host you, give you the opportunity to eat some oilum, some saltfish, some plantain, some bakes, ponder the beauty of life and see how we can resolve our differences. Humanity is something we shouldn't take for granted. And as human beings, we kill so many of ourselves. I mean, look at what's going on around the world. For what? What difference does it make? So, and especially, one of the things about war, they always send young men to the deaths. And leave mothers, sisters, children fatherless, right? And certainly as a black man, knowing the challenges of our history, and the challenges still in the Caribbean of family, and stable family, war is not something I support. And we've had our own bad experience here. In the 1980s, I'm sure if you research our history, particularly in 1983, the Prime Minister and members of his colleagues were assassinated by friends, by people who were in the same political organization and who allowed ideology and dogma, which were really imported ideology and dogma, to destroy the family friendship with brotherhood. Some of them went to school together, they grew up together, and as young men, this is a mistake that we can't ever afford to repeat. So we don't need guns.
So I just, also from my research, you declared the day or the year that he was assassinated as a national holiday.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
No, I mean, you can't have a sitting prime minister, regardless of your views of him, being assassinated together with members of the cabinet and not acknowledge and recognize that day. So for 40 years, we hid, we pretended, despite how painful it was, and we never acknowledged the day. And you cannot forget your history, but then you're going to repeat it. You cannot effectively pretend something tragic didn't happen and expect that when the risk of it starts arising in the future, that you will have the tools to deal with it. So the best way to grow is to confront the uncomfortable, to confront the painful, so that we can learn from it, we can teach our children why it happened, and make sure that they themselves don't put themselves in a position where we go out means to resolve challenges that we have.
On the 29th of May 1944,
God gave to us Maurice Bishop. He made the ultimate sacrifice for the people of P.T. Martinique, Carriacou and Grenada by laying down his life.
So if we have differences in policy or views and so on, we should be able to find ways of compromising rather than saying the only way to do it is to liquidate the other person or to kill the other person. Because trust me, you're not going to solve the problem. And assassinating Maurice Bishop and the members of the cabinet didn't solve the problem, it worsened the problem. It led to a curfew, it led to people being scared, it led to people being in a state of fear, anxiety, pain for 40 years, and counting, to people not finding their loved ones, you know, to an American intervention or invasion, depending on how you look at it. So it's been a very painful period for us, and we have to learn from it.
His death was connected with Thomas Sankara from Burkina Faso. Do you also believe in that?
So, you know, Maurice was not just a Grenadian leader. He was a well-known Pan-Africanist. He was a brilliant orator for black people and for the liberation movements and for the right for people to choose their own political systems in the developing and third world. I mean, if you hear some of his speeches, for example, at Mekk in New York, you'll understand why, for other people, he might have been seen as a threat. So it was a great loss, I think, to humanity, to the black world in particular. But the beauty about life is, you know, you can be immortal if you do what God sent you to do, and I think that was his calling. His wife is still alive. If you hear her stories about the sacrifices he made, about his incorruptibility, his refusal to take pay or money or stuff from people he helped as a lawyer, you'll see this was someone who had Grenada at heart, first and foremost, not himself. He could have been a brilliant lawyer, he could have made a lot of money, he could have lived a safe life, but he essentially risked it all and paid the ultimate sacrifice for the country. So we have to appreciate that a lot of what we have today is because people like him have made the sacrifices against all odds.
Yeah, let me pause there for a little bit, you know, because I think that is very, very vital and important and critical, that piece of history that the Prime Minister delved into, and I think his way of addressing it. And, you know, you see how powerful social media influencers could be and the world that we're living in today. You know, this is, you know, a social media influencer getting the opportunity to be up close and personal with the Prime Minister of Grenada, being able to experience just, you know, walking and sharing, you know, the space with the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister highlighting and, you know, able to boast that they're about peace and freedom. You know, he doesn't even have, you know, any army or military around him and so on, and he's just walking through the community, going house to house, and it's not even election time. He's just generally, literally just doing what he says he is there to do, to serve. And so the only way he could serve the people is to go and be amongst them and find out what they're dealing with and what the issues are and so on, and then he can be in a better position to address it, you know. So quite interesting. And yeah, when we get to that point, but in relation to what he pointed out there in terms of Maurice Bishop and so on, if you never know or knew the history of Grenada and Maurice Bishop, I think it is something that you should take some time out and look up as well. And this is part of why I do some of these things, so that it can help to stimulate your meditation and help you to, you know, think of going to do a little bit more research for yourself and learn a little bit more things for yourself, you know. So let's continue.
I feel like you are redefining leadership. You don't think so?
I mean, I don't think about it. I think for me it's about service. It's about making sure that we demystify service, because to be a politician you essentially have to serve. We want to encourage Grenadians to be comfortable and confident that it's okay to actually get involved in politics. Whether it's at the leadership national level, at the local community level, at the parish level, at the constituency level. Because that's the only way you're going to build a country. It's not going to be by some robot. Yeah, it might help. But the bottom line is you have to have people who care about the country and who are prepared to make some sacrifice for the greater good. Almost every African country is 10 times larger than Grenada. And when you have large countries, obviously you're going to have some of this. So I think what has to happen is in larger countries, especially in developing countries, leaders have to find ways to make sure that even if they may not be accessible on a personal basis like this, that is genuine opportunity for them to hear from the citizens and be responsive to the needs of the citizens. So whether you're a governor, whether you're a mayor, whether you're a president or a prime minister or minister, I think that's critical, because at the end of the day, your children, your grandchildren will be living in the country. So to me, if you get involved in service, you should at least have the intent of saying, I want to make this better for my children and grandchildren who are coming after me, and for my friends' children and grandchildren who are coming after me. So, my job, I think, or if I have any advice for any leaders, regardless of the age of the country, particularly in the developing world, is really to make sure that you have an opportunity. There's technology, you can do stuff on virtual platforms, you can do town halls, you can do community meetings. You should engage with your people, not just at the election time. Because a lot of times you find that the ideas, that's what I'm doing. So
hold on, and this is coming from the Prime Minister. You understand? Like, I am just impressed. If I was in Grenada, just listening to this Prime Minister here, I could see how he probably and possibly could have won my vote. You know what I mean? Because he sounds, very much genuine, and we would really love to have this kind of energy and this kind of mindset in many more of our politicians throughout the region. I could tell you that.
You see me here walking this community.
It's not because there's an election coming up.
There's no election. And by walking the community, you discover the people, their concerns, their interests. Most people don't want anything necessarily, but they want to know that you are there to represent them, to hear their concerns, or to take their advice, or sometimes, as in this case, to just offer you a refreshing Mandarin and a drink. So I think sometimes we lock ourselves into thinking people always want from the politicians, when actually what they want is oftentimes the knowledge that you are there to represent them. And are you prepared to listen to the issues that they have, or the concerns, or the suggestions, or the recommendations? And that's, in a sense, a large reason for doing what we do in terms of visiting people, knocking on the door, saying hello to them. And to be honest, my view is, if I only do this at the election time, you're entitled not to vote for me. Because then it's a gimmick, I'm only doing it because they say you have to do what you want.
The man said, if I don't do this, and I only come on around election time, then he would advise you not to vote for him, because he know that's a gimmick. You hear the Prime Minister just said? The Prime Minister said, if you vote for he, and you put he in, and for the 5 years that he in there, he ain't come around and do this from house to house and come talk to you and try to find out what's going on with you, and I'm only going to wait until around election to come and do this. He's advising his constituents to not vote for him if that is what you're doing, because that's a gimmick. The people will know that's a gimmick. People, and so this is what I tell you, I love to listen to these other leaders, because you hear different perspectives.
You want to win an election. So to me, if you elected someone as your MP, and 5 years, 60 months have passed, and they come back only around election time, I mean, to me they're taking for granted. So in those circumstances, to me the results should be obvious. I mean, you walk with us, what is so difficult about knocking on the door and taking that?
Oh my goodness!
In Grenada.
Wow!
Well, you see, you've got the main man here. I was just using the opportunities.
Yeah. You guys are blessed, eh?
Right. And we want to share the blessings with our brothers and sisters. So please invite them to come over.
I just want to tell you all, it's about time for you to visit Grenada.
Grenada lights, Grenada lights, Grenada lights.
Welcome to Grenada!
Oh my goodness! When you come, you get a chance to meet the Prime Minister. I'm not promising you that, but he's always walking around somewhere, so you definitely bump into him. But I'm just telling you, we're just one people. I mean, I am here and I don't even feel like I'm in another country.
You're home.
I feel so much at home.
You're home.
I love your outfit, by the way.
Thank you. You know where I got it?
From where?
The coast. I went.
From Ghana? Rainforest. Kakum National Park? Yeah. Oh my goodness!
It rained for quite a while, about 3 hours. So I was soaked, so I had to get new clothing. And this is why I'm wearing this tribute. I knew I was going to run into you somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Really small, so I wanted to make sure that
I'm so glad you represent.
I represent. So.
Yeah, do you know the name of the cloth you're wearing?
No, I'm hoping you give me a little indication.
I can't tell you that, so let's leave that for the audience, right? The richest black man in the entire world to Grenada. How does that make you feel?
No, well, first of all, I think, you know, he's an amazing personality, even if we discount his phenomenal business success. So it was really an honor to have him. And I think the key reason for bringing him was to have the fireside chat so that he can inspire explanation, particularly young people. And I think he did an amazing job at that. I was inspired. I think the entire audience was inspired, and we have technology to show people the things he said so that he could continue inspiring black people and young people in particular in Africa and in the diaspora. So it was a phenomenal experience, and I want to take the opportunity again to thank him for agreeing to do this on behalf of Grenada.
Do you believe in African solutions to African problems?
Absolutely. You know, a suit made for you is not going to fit me. And the reality is the challenge that Africa faces. It has a unique history. We understand in particular the fear of colonization, the continued discrimination that many African countries face, whether it's in terms of international financing or just international policies that are meant to continue the exploitation of the continent, requires all of us, not just Africans in Africa, but Africans in the diaspora, to make sure that we give ourselves the best opportunities to solve all problems. And so it's absolutely vital for us to understand that no one is going to come to save us. I say this all the time, we have to save ourselves. So absolutely, I believe in that.
How do you intend to bridge the gap between Africans living in Africa with Africans living in the Caribbean? I mean, you're the leader of CARICOM.
Former chairman.
Former chairman.
Yes.
But as a former chairman, how do you intend to bridge the gap between Africa and Africans in the Caribbean?
I mean, we're doing so already. The fact that you were here in Grenada, the fact that we're doing this interview, the fact that we had President Belen Kurama, the distinguished Mr. Aliko Dangote here in Grenada, tiny island in the Caribbean, with prominent Africans, talking about the challenges that we face, using Africans to inspire people in the Caribbean. We have to.
Imagine being a child, wrapped in nothing but thin rags, feeling the cold bite through your skin.
And I said this before, a lot of the independence movement that started in places like Ghana was inspired by people like Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the Right Honorable. So we recognize that that connection is strong. We need to renew it, we need to strengthen it, we need to rediscover it. And the truth is this, I've said this repeatedly, you know, Africa must be strong for the black diaspora to be strong. Until that happens, we in the diaspora will also be challenged. Right? And so we need to make sure that our economic connections, or trade, or travel, or tourism, or leisure, or science, even our police and military, or security apparatus is designed to protect black people everywhere. Because I think we know that when black people are in countries where they are not the majority, what happens in terms of the treatment they meet, the discrimination they face. And that is only going to change when Africa as a continent and all the countries of Africa are strong.
Is there any similarities that you found when you went to the continent?
No, absolutely. We could just start with things like food. You know, we love plantains there. You know, whether it's Nigeria, whether it's Ghana, plantains always. I'm just using that as an example. You know, the spiciness of the food. You know, the music, the drum, the dance. I mean, you know, obviously Afrobeats is global. So there's no question about that. The similarities are you look like me, I look like you.
Exactly.
Right. So I mean, and we know what our history is. So. I think we just need to make sure that we continue doing so, continue using the platforms that we have. That's one of the great advantages of technology, that we can bridge the divide a lot easier, and make sure, you know, a lot of the things we've inherited, we've just continued. You know, in Grenada you fly to London, fly to New York. In Africa you do the same, right? But it's time we start flying directly from the continent to the Caribbean.
Across the globe watching this video, your final message to all Africans across the globe?
Simple. Africans are beautiful, we're strong, and we need to stay united to make sure that we can continue rising. I think we are, in essence, I would put it this way, the remaining continent that needs to rise to its full potential, so the next generations of Africans can lead the world.
Yeah, well, you know, that was that session, and I was just very much impressed with the utterances of the Prime Minister of Grenada and the way his mindset is, and I am definitely going to be following up a little bit more of what's taking place in Grenada. I know in recent times as well, there would have been a family that would have had a plantation in Grenada, and I think some member of the family would have came back and paid some reparatory money to some of the survivors of the enslaved Africans who worked on the plantation, because I think there's documents showing. So that's a story to follow up as well. So it really shows the seriousness in terms of the Afro consciousness of the Grenadian community and the leadership of Grenada. The Gonte, the brethren who was highlighted, he has oil factory, he makes cement. He's also into making salt as well. He's also into fertilizers. There are a couple of different companies that he has. I'm saying that these are things that we need to do. We need to seek to develop trade between Africa and the Caribbean. We have a lot of the resources and we can trade amongst ourselves. So cement that we might be getting from some of the European territory, I think it's Portland, you know, we could be getting our own cement out of Africa. We could be getting our own salt out of Africa. We could be getting our own new cars. There are a couple of, you know, even the EVs. There are a couple of countries in Africa right now leading the way in terms of renewable cars, electric vehicles. We could be teaming up with some of these companies and in creating the spaces for those things so that we can be miles ahead of those some other territories and not be third world countries as they want to label us. We have all that is within us. We need to seek to explore opportunities and avenues to put ourselves out there. So as we wrap up this edition, I just want to say, you know, give thanks to everybody who would have passed through and, you know, take a listen. I think I'll be coming through this space a bit more often, bringing through various different topics and various different issues. The videos might not necessarily be as long as this one, but yeah, it's meditation and it's just a reasoning. Make we reason, because that's what it's all about. We just reason. In this space, you're able to you know, make your comments and we would respond on the page, or I'm going to eventually, as things build up, I'll eventually provide a number that people can call in and be a part of the session. So let me see some of the people who passed through here today. We had people like Shabazz Banky, Shabazz Organics, Rikal Sito Rikal, Aaron Otto Heiliger, Raheem, bless up yourself King, Lenny Libod, Corvin Wilkin. We had other people like, who else we had inside here? Evan Nesbitt, Hot Rod Prince, Jaja Fruits, bless up yourself Bonita, Akeem Walwin, John Maynard, Shirley Ward, Bouncing Junior Woodley. Bless up everybody who would have passed through. Like I said, I'll be in and out of this platform, you know what I mean, more often in these times, bringing you some different vibes and different energy from time to time, you know. So enough love everybody. Probably will be back maybe a little later on, but yeah, that's it for now. So I'm gonna wrap up now with, yeah, let me wrap up with with this. Let me see how I could do this. How I could do this quickly. I'll need to disconnect this, and then yeah, let me do this. Let me disconnect this. Alright, take off this. Then I'll have to put it on this. Take off the Bluetooth off of that device. Then I'll have to put the Bluetooth on this device. Right? Let's see how this is gonna work. Okay. Bluetooth. Where is the Bluetooth? Bluetooth. There's a new device. There's a new device to pair. I gotta go to, okay, it's active. Oh, it done active already. Okay, it done log into it. Alright. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up now, right? But I wanna wrap up with this one here, man, because I promised to do this from some time back, but yeah, don't feature this one here. This one here is a track from my son, you know. My son is an artist, you know, so I gotta do a edition featuring some of his music and some of what he's doing and all that, you know what I mean? But I'm gonna close out with this one. So then that might be like the intro to some other edition, and I guess you could give your feedback as you logging out or you logging in or whichever one it is, you know what I mean? So yeah, let's check out this one here.
I accidentally threw away my lighter. I'm smoking Ivy, burning like some tires. I roll the people to get me higher. Since you talk too much, you a liar. Since you drink too much, you get lighter. I'm fast, by the on fire. I'm gonna accept something, but ain't gonna be a liar. I accidentally threw away my lighter.
I accidentally threw away my lighter.
Gonna be a lighter. When I go on demon time for hype. When the police see my brothers, they gon' strike. Need to cut all the light.
Yeah, man, I'm sure you could relate to that, you know. Accidentally throw away your lighter. Have you ever accidentally throw away your lighter? Not time you miss, but want to go on blood.
I accidentally threw away my lighter. I'm smoking Ivy, burning like some tires. I roll the people to get me higher. Since you talk too much, you a liar. Since you drink too much, you get lighter. I'm fast, by the on fire. I'm gonna accept something, but ain't gonna be a liar. I accidentally threw away my lighter. I accidentally threw away my lighter. I'm smoking with the spiders. I drink the call like a spider. Gonna be a rider. When I go on demon time for hype. When the police see my brothers, they gon' strike. Need to cut all the lights. Can't go to hype. Need to cut all the lights. Police chasing us for the stripes. I accidentally threw away my lighter. I'm smoking heavy, burning like some tires. I roll the heaper to get me higher. Since you talk too much, you a liar. Since you think too much, you get lighter. I'm fast, right on fire. I'm gonna invest something good and see the fire. I accidentally threw away my lighter, away my lighter, away my lighter, away my lighter.
Yeah, so see you people sometime around, you know. That's my son. That's my son's, you know what I mean? One of my son's production, you know what I mean? Call this one, he accidentally threw away his lighter. Accidentally threw away his lighter. Yeah, so bigger people until, you know what I mean? More times guidance and detection, I'll update you on his career and what's going on with him still, you know. Yeah, he produced that himself, put it all together, do his mix up and all that and all that. These young people, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they take it to a whole different level, you know. So, yeah, enough love people, guidance and detection until we drop in on this space again. 2 hours. Yeah, man, enough love people, guidance.